Hey, listeners, welcome to another inspiring episode of the Mind Over Matter podcast with your host, Sana. Now, today I have an exceptional conversation with an exceptional guest for you who is revolutionizing the way we approach holistic health and wellness. Meet Heather Stewart. Now, listeners, let me share a bit about Heather with all of you. She's a dynamic force in the wellness world, seamlessly blending her background in corporate finance with her fervent dedication to holistic health. Through her transformative coaching experiences, and the Thriving Life method framework, she helps overwhelmed overachievers connect to their inner purpose and create a life they were meant to live. Heather is also the host of the Back to Me podcast, guiding wellness your way. And together on Mind Over Matter, we'll dive into a very, very interesting topic. Your higher self won't lie to you. And we'll also explore how connecting with our higher selves can actually lead to a more fulfilling and intentional life. So, with that, Heather, welcome to this show. And it's an absolute pleasure having you
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for staying up late to talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Great, great, Heather. So it's conversations like this, which I, you know, uh, uh, I wish to give my passion, my heart into conversations because it opens your mind to so many things. So I think, I'm very confident our listeners will get a lot of takeaways from today on maybe discovering, understanding their higher selves to, help them in holistic health and wellness. So with that, Heather, let's start with your journey, from corporate finance to now becoming a wellness coach and then hosting your podcast. How it all happened.
So I did the things that are normal in life, right? So
Yeah.
when I graduated from university, I got a career. I was a CPA, and I worked hard in corporations and finance, and I did that for 15 years. But even though I was successful, you know, by most measures of success, I was successful, but I wasn't happy. So for me, that didn't feel successful, and I just felt that there was something else to do. So what I did was I quit my job, and you'll find this funny because we were just talking about it briefly. I quit my job and I went to India.
Oh,
Yeah. So right after I was a senior director of finance in a billion-dollar company, and I had, all of the things that cars and the company car and the stock options, but I wasn't happy. So I had been doing yoga after work for stress relief, and I just realized that this the stress was never going to turn down. It was just going to turn up. And I didn't want to trade my life for I felt like I was trading my life for this these dollars, this success. So I quit my job and I went to India for 3 months, and I had no plan. I just traveled around, backpacking and staying in little places and meeting people, and it was all through the north. So I landed in Delhi and I went all through the north, and I actually spent a week, which was totally unexpected, at the residence of the Dalai Lama because he was there giving a talk, and I was like, "Wow, like, this doesn't happen." So when I came back, I knew that I wanted to help people. So I was started teaching yoga. I went back to school for 2 years. I became a massage therapist because where I am, it takes 2 years of schooling and exams to become a massage therapist. And I was became a personal trainer. I was like everything for physical fitness. And when I was working, people started asking when I was working as a massage therapist, the people that I worked with knew that I had been an accountant, so they started always asking me questions. So I started business coaching. I thought, yes, this is another way to help people because people in health and wellness don't always have a good understanding of how to be successful in business. So I started business coaching. And then in 2021, I had a stroke. And I was I was really surprised because I was very healthy. I practiced my yoga, I did tai chi, I was very fit and healthy, and it was not related to any health thing that I had this stroke, but I say that it was a 3-day silent retreat, a gift from the universe because, it was COVID, so I was in the emergency room. No one could visit me, and I couldn't see properly, and there was no beds in the hospital, so I had to spend 3 days in the emergency room on a this cot, and it was I just had to lay there and wait for them to decide to let me go home. But while I was there is when I realized, because I was watching everything going on outside of my cubicle, all of the people coming and going and what was happening in life, and I said, "Okay." Well, the universe kind of said to me, "Yes, you're doing all the right things, but it's too small. You need to help people in a bigger scale." So that's when my Thriving Life program came. That's when my Back to Me podcast came. So it was, instead of just working on physical wellness or just on business wellness, you have to look at the whole person and everything that's happening for them and
Mhm.
help them navigate the challenges so that they can be this happy, healthy, joyful person, because the more people we have in the world who I feel connected and safe and happy, the less conflict and discord that we have in the world. It's like if everybody could find their way to wellness, then there'd be no need for all this other stuff that happens.
True, true. Very, very aptly said. I think uh, it's very difficult to summarize, such an interesting journey in a short period.
It's been a long trip.
It's definitely been a very, very long and very learning, enlightening trip for you. And I also believe there are some, a few similarities in terms of how I transitioned from a corporate career to now full time podcasting. That was kind of a big, huge risk for me financially. Um,
Yeah.
with
People are afraid, right? People are afraid to make those big changes, because you're safe-ish where you are. It feels safe to stay the same even if you're unhappy. But what if it's the wrong place for you,
true,
right?
true. We often judge situations or opportunities by the financial gains or the roles or responsibilities. You get a big promotion. I mean, you get all the tangible achievements, but what about your inside out? Are you really satisfied or fulfilled? Do you spend time with your family or your loved ones? Do you have someone who is like, you they know you, and maybe you are losing that opportunity to know yourself as well. So it's really important.
And
However, I
one of the measurements is, and when you get to the late end of your life, does
Mhm.
anybody ever say, "I wish I had worked more"?
Nobody says that. Nobody says. And this has been verified in an experiment. I think it was done by a nurse. Now, I think I don't remember her name, but she wrote this book. And I think she's a best-selling author. She was nurse, and she was she dealt with dying patients, and those were like big business people, uh, huge money. But nobody said that I wish I could have more money. I would have earned more money. Almost all of them said, I wish I would have more time with my family, with my parents, or with my daughter, son, wife, anyone, something
Time
like
is
that.
the thing that you can't save. You can't put, like, money, you can make money. Money comes and money goes, and there's always somebody once said, "It's easy to make money. You can always make more money. You can't make more time." So, if your time is your currency, how will you choose to spend it?
Exactly. That's a very valid question. Very valid question. Great, great. And I think we definitely we are putting the significance on following one's passion and the courage
Mhm.
also which you had to make such a risky transition. And I think you also need support in terms of people, like-minded people helping you during this transition, post-transition as well. Because I think it's not possible alone. Do you agree with that, Heather?
I
Is it
do. It is very hard. There are going to be some people in the world who can make that kind of change by themselves because they're so self-directed and have such a deep sense of what they need that they feel it's okay to do that. But for most for the majority of people, because of the way that we have evolved, we evolved as tribal species, right? We evolved as you need that collective community to support you and you support each other, and that is how we thrived. So and that's what it's funny because the aspects of the thriving life method are your physical health, your emotional health, and the third one is the community that you have around you to support you. And back then when I did it, coaching wasn't a thing. It was just like my friends thought I was crazy. I had one friend who was gonna take me to the insane asylum because he thought I had lost my mind. He was serious. All I did was quit my job. But I had one person I had actually found a new community. So my corporate community thought I was crazy and all of the friends that I had surrounding that, but I had started this new connections with people in the yoga community that where I was teaching and where people were saying, "Yes, of course you have to do what it is gonna support your health and your wellness, and it's not about money." And so it's like trying to find that space where you have people who are helping you, but you still have to be brave enough to do it. You still have to be brave enough to have, um, be the ownership of your life and your choices. So I had to make the choice to do it, but after I made that choice, then it was going and having support from those people. So on the days that I felt like it was all too much, then I had somebody that I could go and talk to. But there's like both sides of it. You need to own your life and make decisions for your life, but still have people who won't use their personal agendas or their personal fears because it's not even necessarily an agenda. Their fears, when you make a big change, their fears come up and they try to stop it because they're like, no, no, that's too much change. So, long answer to yes, you need friends. And I mean, coaching has become popular, I think, because people are seeing they want more support in a way that doesn't tell them what to do, but helps them to clarify for themselves.
Right.
Ask questions, um, like illuminate areas that they're not seeing so that they can kind of say, okay, yeah, this is what feels right. And then give them support when they need those days of someone to talk to.
Right. That's absolutely right. Also, now, of course, we are talking about connecting with higher selves or understanding what exactly higher selves, how they won't lie to us. What exactly do you mean, Heather, by higher self?
So I started I became an Akashic Records reader a couple of years ago, and
Mm.
I had never heard of it before. I met a woman who
Uh-huh.
who did my Akashic Records for me, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. And I had this idea of what a higher self was, and I find that after I started training with her, it became more and more clear. So if you imagine that this is a big concept. So all of this world that we have is energy and it's just manifesting into a form. So you were a spirit, you are a spirit, you're still a spirit. And you just said, I'm just going to go down to earth because the only place that you can really have an experience of things, like the density of things and emotion and pleasure and pain, like, there's no good or bad. It's just have all the experiences of being human is to come down and be human.
Mhm.
But it's just like when I think of it, it's like, um, it's like a little string comes down and or a little light beam comes down and just shines into this body that I have selected. But
Mhm.
my soul self is still in the energetic field. It's just kind of
Mhm.
projected part of itself down into 3D. And we forget that when we're born. So when I think about it, when I think your higher self, so your higher self knows everything you've ever been, everything, all possibilities, everything you could be, everything you will be, like everything. Your higher self is your energetic self, and it's just projecting into this body. So your higher self doesn't have an agenda. It doesn't have an ego. It's not going to make decisions based on whether you get embarrassed or whether you make a mistake. It's just here to have an exciting time experiencing being human. So when I discovered that when I started tuning in to I actually just ask my higher self questions all the time. Now, right now, I still ask it yes, no questions, and then I get an answer. And sometimes the answer really surprises me.
Mhm.
You know, one day I was coming home from my office and I have two routes that I can take
Yeah.
on a bus. I take a bus and I have one bus that I like to take that's faster to get home, but sometimes it takes longer for it to come. So I was asking, should I take this bus? Should I take this bus? And it was sending me on a route that I don't usually go on because it takes too long and I have to walk too far. But I trusted, but so I was practicing with questions that didn't when you practice talking to your higher self, practice with things that aren't life and death. So I said, "Okay, fine, I'll go and take that bus." And I went and got on that bus, and there was one of my clients on that bus who isn't from the part of the city that I'm in. She's from a different part of the city, so she's never on this bus. And she was on this bus, and she was having a very hard time, and I hadn't seen her in about a year. And she said, "Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you're here. I forgot," she wanted to connect with me. So we had a conversation on the bus ride to help support her. But if I was making the decision from my human self, I would have taken the other bus. But my higher self knew, no, you need to go on that bus. So it lines up things for you to help you because it has a bigger perspective. It is your soul self, and it can see things that you can't, so it lines things up for you so that you get onto the right path. So I mean, I jokingly say that the universe sent me to the hospital for 3 days, but and s to to some extent, it did put me into the hospital for 3 days to slow me down long enough that it could tell me the messages that it needed to send me. So your higher self, it doesn't lie to you because it doesn't have an agenda. It doesn't have, any preconceived notion of who or what should be or what should happen or what truth is or what lies are. It's just like this is the path that you chose to come as your soul self. These are the things you wanted to accomplish. I'm going to try and help you direct into those things and you can find your way there, hopefully.
Beautiful.
Sometimes it seems crazy, even to me now, even though I talk to it every day. Sometimes it seems crazy that I do this because I still have part of that old belief system. But I trust it completely.
So what if, I think this question you come to our listeners' minds that what if your higher self gives you the signal? Um, you take that decision based on that signal. However, something wrong happens because of that. Then how do you navigate through that?
But and it's funny because we think it's wrong, but is
Mhm.
it wrong? You can't really tell until further down the road. So you would say to me, a stroke, that's a wrong thing. That they shouldn't have done that. Like that's bad. But and at the time I probably would have agreed with you. A stroke is bad. But now that I'm past it, because it was over 3 years ago. Um, Now I can look back and go, "Actually, that was a perfect lesson." It seemed bad because my headache was so bad, and I was in the hospital, but at the same when I come out the other side, I think, "Well, that was a really good experience to have." I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but that was something that I needed to help me. So we label things as good and bad, like, that was a mistake, I went this way, and so when I was in Jordan in 2023, I fell and broke my wrist. Another lesson from the universe. And, um, people say, "Oh my god, that's so terrible. Did it ruin your vacation?" But because I had shifted all of my thinking, when I broke my wrist, instead of saying, "Oh, terrible, my vacation's ruined," I said, "Ooh, what's my lesson gonna be?" You know? It probably was painful, but what I remember from it was traveling, because I had to go to 3 different hospitals, traveling in this car with this person who's taking me to these hospitals and these conversations that are happening, and all of these people who are wondering why there's a white woman in the hospital in Jordan coming up, and they're putting their hand on me, and which I think they're blessing me. I didn't speak the language, but everybody seemed very concerned and taking care of me, and it was just so interesting and fascinating. And my lesson was in receiving, because when you have a cast on and you can't use your hand, someone has to open jars for you and zip up your coat for you and brush your hair for you. I mean, um, so I was learning how to receive graciously. And you can say at the time the stroke was bad, or you can say the broken wrist was bad, or you can say the small hardship you went through was bad. But you have to go all the way through it to be able to look back and go, "Oh, actually, that was really good." And at the same time, when the higher self tells you something, you still have free will. You still choose yes or no, right? You still choose the direction. You don't have to follow it. And you're not gonna get in trouble. It's not like they're gonna say, "Oh, forget it. You didn't follow that advice, so I'm not telling you the truth anymore." It's always there trying to help you achieve and experience and learn and have a fabulous life. That's all. It's the only thing it wants.
True. I mean, it can be through learning from an adversity, or it can be as simple as learning from small, uh, definite moments. It's totally up to you whether you wish to absorb the learning or not. I think sometimes why we don't realize is, we have ingrained trauma or some kind of past trauma, childhood trauma, or something which, kind of is clouding our conscious. Because I have actually spoken to many guests who do akashic records sessions, um, connection with spirits, souls. So they are often, clouded by ingrained trauma or some kind of a phase in their lives, which hurt them very badly from deep. So if in case, let's say, Heather, someone who is not able to realize or be aware about their higher selves, and they are could be a reason because of any adversity or any bad phase of their life they have faced or they are facing right now, how they can navigate that, how they can clear the clutter.
So sometimes I think about when you were born, like when we were born, we were just this fresh, blank person. We didn't, I mean, we would bring experiences of past lives. But so if the trauma is from a past life, you might need an energy healer to clear that for you, because you might not be able to bring it into your consciousness of what it is. But if you think in general, we come as these blank little people, and everything that we come to believe or understand is a story that has been created through our experiences. And everybody's truth is 100% their truth. But not everybody's truth is the same truth, which is so interesting. So if you think, I always try to think back to when I was a little kid, what did I believe? Or what did I understand? Or, and it didn't even have to be when you were a young child, but because experiences happen our whole lives. And say something happened to you that you found traumatic and that has caused you to react in a certain way. Can you, if you remember that incident, can you pull it to almost like you're gonna watch the movie of it, like, pull it out of you and look at it and think about it, "Okay, this is how I felt about what happened. This is what I experienced. Is there another thing that's going on in there? Was there something else in there that, could inform what the truth was?" Because sometimes, like, I come from a family with 4 children, and we all grew up in the same house, but I bet you if you asked us, we all have a different story of what that house was like, because we all came with our own ideas, and we all come with our own stories and our own experiences. So when you have an experience, is there a way for you to view that experience from a different perspective? Or, I mean, you could say, was there a lesson in the experience, but because you're staying in the pain of it or the discomfort of, and you're keeping that experience the way it is instead of letting it show you something that's stopping you from moving past it. And sometimes you just need help, right? Sometimes it's okay. It's not wrong. Hello, that was my lesson from falling in Jordan. Asking for help. Asking for help is okay because we are all here to help each other on the journey. We have souls who came down with us to help us. If we don't let them help us, they'll be sitting there going, "What did you invite me to the party for if you're not going to let me help you?" So, so when you realize, and it's all stories, they're all stories. When you realize the stories that are in your life are keeping you from joy,
Mhm.
finding some way to transition them into a lesson or transition them into something else, a learning, or even just a way to. I did this meditation recently where we just cleared old stories. He said they were like post-it notes stuck to your aura. You just clear them off and you send them down into the earth energy to be recycled. You don't always have to know what they are, just let them be recycled. And the energy of that actually feels much lighter when you're done. So
Wow.
sometimes it's just an energy that's stuck. It's very individual.
True, true. Beautiful, beautiful. I wish I could go on and on because this is so cool, but yeah, because of time constraint, for
Mhm.
the benefit of listeners, if they wish to start their journey towards connecting with their higher selves today, how can they do that? And how can they connect with you as well?
The easiest place to find me, because everything is there, is heatherstewart.coach. You can find all my social medias, and there's a new membership platform where there's free resources and everything, and it's a place for people in community to come and support each other. Like, there's no mean people are allowed on my platform.
Straight and bold. I think that's very, very much right. Great. We'll have the details in the show notes for all of our listeners. And Heather, thank you so much. This was such a personal, heartfelt, and insightful at the same time conversation. And I think it's been truly enlightening to actually explore how connecting with our higher selves can lead to a more intentional and fulfilling life. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sana.
So, to all of our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to check out Heather's website. You can refer to the links in the show notes along with this episode. And also, I would encourage all of you to listen to her podcast, Back to Me, for more wellness guidance. And remember that your higher self won't lie to you. Trust in yourself and keep thriving. And also, keep listening to Mind Over Matter. Until next time, stay mindful and take care of yourself and your loved ones.